ready for the next one?
Round 2.
Are we ready for the next asshole evaluation?
I'm ready.
Am I the asshole for finding my boyfriend's, 25 male, alarms rude? Let me start off by saying I, 24 female, completely understand that some people need multiple alarms to wake up. What I don't understand is why his start an hour and a half before he even has to wake up. They're all set for a half hour apart each, but he ends up just snoozing the alarm anyway, so I hear it go off every 15 minutes, from 5:30 a.m. to 7 a.m. I am a light sleeper. I wake up with the first alarm and have to nudge and try to wake up my boyfriend because he doesn't actually wake up to the alarms. He will snooze the alarm and goes right back to sleep. Then 15 minutes later, it's the same thing all over again. I've even run experiments. If I ignore the alarms and don't wake him up, he sleeps through them all and ends up late anyway. This morning, I couldn't go back to sleep after hearing the alarms at 5:30, 5:45, and 6 a.m. I got up and decided to start my day. As I exited the bedroom, I muttered something about how his alarms are rude. Boyfriend asked if I thought he was asleep, and I told him either way, the thought remains. He got up and has been getting ready for the day in silent anger since. Oh, so this was like what she posted, like she just like this just happened and she walked straight to the computer and posted this on Reddit. Like they haven't even had like hours to like communicate and calm down from this. It was like the heat of the moment.
They could probably, it's probably not the right time to have the conversation.
Probably not.
If this was a jury selection, I would have to dismiss myself right now, probably.
Would you?
Yeah, probably.
Wait a second. We need more info here, Steve.
Okay, I have some practical advice for this guy at some point in time. Like, I really do, because I've been this guy.
Are you a snoozer?
Sometimes I am the snoozer at this point in my life still. It's a struggle for me that I deal with at times. So, yeah, you go ahead and lead us into this. I would love to hear your thoughts, Dusty, before I speak on this matter, and then maybe I can offer some practical feedback.
Yeah. So we've determined that Stevie Wonder here is an alarm snoozer. I understand where they're both coming from here, because like the first story we read, what he's used to right now is waking up to her waking him up, not waking up to his alarms. She's created a pattern with him where he's dependent on her waking him up, and she's done it.
Right.
So that's his routine now. He keeps setting the alarms, allowing it to happen, basically putting the responsibility of waking him up on her. The alarm is not to wake him up at this point. It's to wake her up so she can wake him up. That's shitty.
Is he not waking up from it at all?
No. So the experiment that she ran was that she didn't wake him up and didn't snooze the alarms, and he just
right through him.
Yeah.
Well, this guy needs to get another alarm clock from like one of those ones that screams at you.
Yeah. Or one of the ones, or just assuming that you're using your phone as an alarm, set it on the other side of the room so you have to physically get up and walk over there. But if she wants this to change, it's going to take some effort on everyone's part.
I'm understanding that she's never actually said anything about this either. So like, this is kind of one of those things where you're letting it build up and become contempt.
Right.
And then she's finally like, there's no way when she addressed this with him, she did it in a gentle way, right? Like, she was kind of probably being an a-hole about it at the time that she approached it. Although,
well, she didn't even approach it. She walked by and muttered something under her breath.
Right. The passive aggressive approach.
Yes.
Right?
Let me leave a passive-aggressive Post-it note on your phone.
Yes, right. Oh, it'd be really nice if these dishes cleaned themselves, like, I love how you put your laundry by the hamper all the time.
What's the point of this alarm?
Yeah, what's the point of it? She needed to say something probably sooner than the moment where she, like, ran to the computer to defend herself.
That's probably the weird part for me, is that,
she's not confrontational.
I semi-disagree with that statement, because I think passive-aggressive people are still confrontational.
Just not in a confrontational way.
They do it in a cowardly way.
Right. Yes. It's still confrontational.
Yeah, exactly. It's still a confrontation. You're creating more of a back-end scheming build-up to it. And this is part of the evidence for that. Instead of, walking in there and having the conversation, she spilled her guts on Reddit to ask a bunch of other people if she was, what's the word I'm looking for?
Asshole. An asshole. If she was an asshole.
If she was an asshole,
it's on your shirt, I think.
Oh, there it is. Right there.
Oh, asshole on your shirt. Oh, I got you. Okay. All right. So let's flip this around to a sort of like a positive cognition here though, right? So you said like passive aggressive people they are confrontational, right? Just like in this passive aggressive way. And I think we could look at that as like this really like a double negative thing, right? Like you're extra bad because you're confrontational, but you can't confront somebody. So I think you've got somebody that can identify. That's probably a good thing, right? So that's something maybe to be celebrated and built upon, like a little step stool to like get you up to the sink to brush your teeth until you're like a big boy and can brush your teeth, right? Like at least you're going through the series of experiencing the emotions that are upsetting you, and you can identify that enough to be a passive aggressive person. So, she's like 2 notches away from being able to communicate effectively, which, let's make the positive thing, right?
Doesn't it take more effort to be passive aggressive than to confront someone though?
I think it's a learned behavior, right? Like if you grow up in you're in your family of origin, you grow up in this situation where people don't communicate clearly, you learn to feel a certain way, but then maybe not express it. Right. And it can feel really hard to do that. So like, at least she knows that she's feeling a certain way about it, but then she's got to change the pattern of like, okay, I feel a certain way about it. I need to say something about it before I like have to mutter to him while he's on the way to the bathroom when he's clearly already slept through 17 alarms and he's not probably in the best mood. Right.
Yeah, first thing in the morning is a terrible time to express yourself to your loved one. Number one,
hi, honey, let's start a fight.
Yeah, that's right. Are you awake? I'm ready for battle.
Wake up! I want to kick your ass.
That's a terrible time to mutter or do anything. Like just keep it to yourself in the morning because no one's thinking clearly.
Honey, do you want to talk about the bills?
I have a problem I want to talk to you about. The problem is you.
I was just going through our Amazon account and I noticed some very disturbing things.
It's a difficult situation because he's been conditioned into it. She's been conditioned into being passive aggressive, as you say. She is communicating her feelings. She's just communicating it in the wrong direction. She's communicating her feelings and explaining herself to Reddit instead of her loved one. Whenever that she's got to learn how to have that conversation. And if she had told him all of this, all of it, they probably would have reached some kind of solution. Maybe wait 15 minutes because he just woke up and he's trying to scramble and get ready. Or maybe wait till this evening.
Maybe we need to go into his corner for a minute and like break down his perspective.
Sure.
Right? Should we? Okay. So you said you used to be that way. Tell me about that.
As a single dude, yeah.
Okay. Why were you that way? Do you know? Like, can you identify that?
I was probably just exhausted.
Right. Like, it's just like, I was hungover.
Well, I've been in the position where I had to start like putting an alarm on the other side of the room. So it actually started waking me up. Like those, you have to have some self-ownership in you have to own your own actions, right? We've talked about that before. So he is responsible for waking himself up. However, he hasn't had to face that responsibility yet because she's been waking him up for him. So I understand where he's coming from. And ultimately here, I think it's just a matter of like, he got used to something because it was just happening that way. I don't think he's choosing to sleep through alarms. He snoozes them. So he's got to be responsible enough to put it on the other side of the room, or she needs to put that alarm on the other side of the room for him to break that behavior.
Right. He needs to, I think he's got some behavioral challenges here probably. Cause like, I think when you were doing that, so where I was kind of going with that, did you ever do that and then have like the best day?
Ever sleep through?
Yeah, like you're snoozing your alarm like 15 times. No, because it's like you somewhere in your brain, you had a goal. Like you knew you wanted to get up. You went to bed and you were ambitious and you're like, I'm going to get up at 6 a.m. today. I'm going to crush this day.
And started with failure.
Yeah, and yes, immediately you failed like 6 times in a row. And so then you feel like a piece of shit, right? And so then you're like snoozing your alarm. And like by the 5th one, you're like, screw it. I'm a piece of shit. Like,
I'm never going to get up today.
Nobody needs me. I'm worthless.
I can't even wake up to an alarm.
So from a functional, like practical standpoint, this guy probably needs some tools to be able to like, because he's probably not living like, not to be cliche, but his best life here, right? He's probably like living in a lot of shame and self-abuse. And he's probably struggling with, honestly, he's probably got some like ADHD or something, right? Like something that's prohibiting him from being able to kick his executive function into full gear. And then there's this like boatloads of shame that like, and I can relate to that on a personal level, right? So like I've been this guy. Sometimes I still am this guy, like on my not best days, right? And I think that there's just so much shame in that, and feeling like, okay, I have goals, I'm ambitious, but today I don't feel like I'm worthy. And I think that can be a really challenging place to be. And I know for me, I was pretty late in life when I was diagnosed with ADHD, and like I never really grew up in a place where we talk about things and like we identify our problems and then work towards resolving them.
You just shoved them deep down and pretended they didn't.
We're from the Midwest. We shove them under the rug, okay?
That's right.
We don't have depression here, okay? You're fine. Suck it up, boy.
Have a biscuit.
Oh. Right. Oh, okay. A little ranch to drown away my tears. But like, so I had internalized so much of that shame. And like, for me, finding out, like, finally being told, like, oh yeah, you know what? You're right. You do have ADHD. That was like super validating for me, where it was like, oh, these are challenges for a lot of, it's not just me that feels this way, right?
There's a reason for things.
Yes. I don't think this dude just wants to snooze his alarm 6 times every day. He probably freaking hates himself for it. Right?
There's a reason. There is a reason for it. There is a reason for it. But he's got to get to a point where he does something about it.
He's got to fix it.
And choosing to put that off on her is a very shitty thing to do. So we have another 50-50 asshole situation here, man.
I think people are just complicated. I don't think anybody's being an asshole on purpose here. I think he's being an asshole for not being more considerate of her feelings. And she's being an asshole for not expressing that this is something that doesn't feel good for her. And like, on some level, she has to know that this is not something he's doing, like setting out to hurt her.
Right.
Right. Like on some, she can't possibly think like he's just doing this he's doing this because he like hates me. He just wants my day to suck. Well, so he's like, he says it 6 times just to piss me off. He's not doing that. And she probably doesn't think that, or she probably would have left him already.
Right. Well, she's also facilitating part of this behavior too, by doing what she's done to this point and waking him up instead of helping him learn how to make his alarms wake him up.
Yes.
50-50 assholes.
50-50 assholes. But I think they're like, again, like just a couple notches away from like being able to resolve their issues and just not be assholes.
It's communication. That's it.
It's communication.
Like, simple communication right here could solve the whole thing. And basically what she came and said to Reddit, she just needs to say to him. And he needs to be willing to solve the problem. That's it.
Yeah, and I also don't love that, again, to tie back to this, I don't love that she came straight to Reddit. Although she is looking for validation of her feelings one way or the other, which I can understand that, right? Like, we don't know how she grew up. Like, we don't know what her story was like. And so we don't know what she was told was right and wrong and how you're supposed to feel and all those kinds of things.
I tell you what, though, I think in a relationship, now there are all kinds of situations where I think looking for validation, and even in relationships, like explaining a story and getting an outside opinion makes sense. However, if you are seeking outside validation in a relationship before having the conversation to your significant other, you're choosing failure.
That is a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
And you're also caught up in some form of pride or like self-righteousness, right? Like she wants to be proven right, to know that her, like, that may be the case. Like, I'm assuming that, right? But like, I think anytime you're kind of seeking that outside validation, you have made up your mind that you're the good guy in the story, and you just want someone else to reinforce that, right? Like, maybe not.
Yeah. Well, it's also like the first step down a very dangerous path where if you have to turn outside of your relationship to get something you need from a relationship, what else are you going to turn outside of that relationship for?
Right. Right.
You've got to learn how to communicate, how to solve your problems, how to move forward, and not be seeking those things from outside of the relationship. And at this point, she's just looking for ammo. And how would you like to be this dude who 15 minutes from then is hit with her marching in saying, there are 87 people on Reddit who already agree with me.
Oh my God.
How would you like to be that guy and be like, well, the first time hearing about this is when you muttered something walking by 15 minutes ago. I'm already late. And now what? You've posted this on Reddit? What?
Yeah.
Wow. That was probably not the right move to find a solution and move to a healthier spot in your relationship. I'm going to go ahead and say that much. I'll tell you that much for free.
Yeah.
You know what I think they need?
Therapy.
A wake-up call.
Oh. Like an alarm?
No.
Oh.
Hey, the dad jokes are very important here, man.
That was a That was a party foul.
No, not in this world. In this world, it's smiled upon.
All right, so I'm gonna flip my own perception on this, because I think we kind of started to go down a road where we basically called this person an asshole for reaching out to Reddit for advice.
Not necessarily.
And I'm going to backtrack on that because I think I have to kind of check myself on that, because like I don't think that holistically applies, and really I don't know that applies in this situation either, because again, I don't know the relationships that this person has in their life beyond this significant other situation where they clearly have some communication issues to work through. So maybe not another confidant to reach out to. And then for that, I applaud them for going to Reddit as a source, because I think if you don't have other resources, then that's maybe the best resource.
Talking to someone. Yes. Talk to someone.
Yeah, talk to someone, right? Like maybe, a good therapist. Again, I'm going to make a plug for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's good.
I think that the problem with and again, posting on Reddit, there is absolutely nothing wrong in a ton of situations. I feel like this should have still been posted to Reddit, but not before talking to him about it. And maybe if she was looking for advice about how to talk to him about it, that'd be a different thing. But it sure feels like she's just looking for validation. You're right. So that she can take that to him as ammo and further an argument. And that feels like the wrong play to me.
Maybe, but also again, if she just needed a sounding board, and I mean, it's better than going and having a confrontational conversation with him before you're cooled down and ready. Because this is obviously still fresh and emotionally
very
charged.
Fresh.
So maybe having the wisdom to say I'm gonna go to an unbiased source to see if my feelings are valid or not, and see if maybe I'm in the wrong here. So point out my blind spots. So
I feel like the trick to that working is that if commenters were truly trying to be helpful and coming from a good place, then that theory would hold true. I think the danger is that you don't know that the person who's commenting isn't just trying to see your world burn down, right?
Right.
They're not vested in that. They have no skin in the game when it comes to that, so it's a lot easier. And it's really easy for us to throw out ideas and recommendations and call people an asshole because we're not bought into that relationship either. But I feel like if passing advice to her that she's actually going to take an act on, she has to be careful to make sure that aligns with whatever her goal is here. And I guess that's it. We don't know what her goal is. We don't know if it's to further an argument or to solve the problem. If it's to solve the problem, great. You did the right thing. Go communicate now. If it was just to gain ammo for an argument, then it ain't the right thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think actionable things obviously needs to have a conversation with her significant other.
Wait till he's out of the shower.
Yeah, probably. Wait till he's out of the shower, and maybe he's worked off the grogginess a little bit. But she needs to express to him how that makes her feel not considered, or however that needs to be expressed. But that needs to be conveyed to him so he can choose to take that feedback and do something with it, as opposed to little passive aggressive jabs on the way to the shower after he's already probably hating himself.
Yeah. So yeah, something to the effect of,
do you want to role play
here? Yeah. So here's what I'm feeling, and here's what I'm seeing happen, and I really need you to figure out how to wake up when your alarm goes off.
Listen, it's really hard for me sometimes to wake up in the morning, okay? And you've been letting me do that for a long time.
Just do it, okay?
When you say it like that, I feel like you're attacking me, okay?
If that alarm goes off again, I am going to attack you. You already failed 3 times this morning when your alarm went off and you didn't get up. Don't fail again.
You want to go to Red Lobster?
All right. They're having a special on calamari.
Calamari special and cheeseburgers.
Oh man! So this is another situation where it's legit just communication, and everyone's the asshole and no one's the asshole at the same time. They just need to learn how to communicate with each other. I would issue caution to her when getting advice from complete strangers.
Like us.
Yeah.
Dusty Thunder and Stevie Wonder.
Don't take anything we say seriously.
Not therapists at large.
Not helpful.
Not helpful. Not helpful.
Sorry. We're just funny.
Yeah, I heard something really insightful one time. I'm going to share this because I think this is cool. I heard from a therapist. When you're having a conversation with someone where you're confronting something like this, be really careful of not making you statements, right? So like for me to say like, you keep doing this thing, right? But instead like make it about how it made you feel. It can really change the dynamic of how the confrontation comes across. So if I was like, you keep licking that microphone like you want to get up in my business, right? As opposed to like, when you lick that microphone like that, you make me feel spicy. Right? Like that's a much less confrontational or much less aggressive way of saying that.
Yeah,
you know?
Absolutely.
And it takes it away from like me accusing you of the thing to me just saying like, hey, this is how I felt in that situation. And then if you care about me, you can choose to do what you want to do with that. And if you don't care about me, then like you can go to hell, you bitch.
There's those yous.
You. Right.
I completely understand. And if the goal is to get someone to just understand your perspective, and in most cases that is the true goal, to get other people to understand where you're coming from, then that approach makes perfect sense. Just saying, like, tell them how you feel. That's it. And do it without accusing people of anything. Just tell them how you feel and what you're frustrated with and why. And, he should do the same. And if they both did that, if instead of coming to the computer and tippity-tapping this post on here or phone or whatever, and talking to him, they probably could have gotten past this quickly. However, the fact that she did probably means they haven't developed that skill of communicating that well yet. So I'm glad she did, because it gives us the opportunity to say, hey, communicating through this may feel scary and tough, but it's not difficult. It is literally just explaining to someone how you feel and why. There's so much we don't know here, but it feels like this would be an easy one to overcome for an outsider. Yeah. So